Welcome to Making Space For, the podcast where we embark on a journey to simplify, organize, and prioritize our lives. I'm your host, Paige Rabin, and each episode will explore the art of intentional living, helping you make room for what truly matters. In a world filled with constant noise and distractions, it's easy to find ourselves surrounded by things that don't contribute to our happiness or well-being. Making Space For is your guide to decluttering not just your physical space, but also your mind and soul. We'll dive into practical tips on downsizing, right-sizing, and the transformative power of letting go. Whether you're starting a cluttered closet, pondering legacy planning, or seeking the elusive balance between work and self-care, this podcast is your sanctuary for inspiration and actionable insights. Join us as we feature experts, share personal stories, and explore the profound impact of intentional living. Together, we'll navigate the journey towards a simpler, more fulfilling life. One where you have more of what matters and less of what doesn't. So are you ready to make space for the life you've always wanted? Let's dive in. This is Making Space For. Well, before we dive into today's episode, a quick shout out to our flagship company, A Move Handled with Care. As Denver Metro's premier senior and specialty move management expert since 2007, we've mastered the art of downsizing, right-sizing, organizing, and every step in between. From packing and moving to unpacking and staging, our experienced staff represent all stages of life, offering a compassionate touch to what matters most to you. So, if you're looking to make a seamless transition while keeping what truly matters in focus, trust A Move Handled with Care. Visit us at amovehandledwithcare.com or on Facebook or LinkedIn to discover the difference. Let's continue making space for the life you deserve. Welcome back to the Making Space For podcast. I'm your host, Paige Rabin, and today we're thrilled to have Shaylee Holland with us. For over 2 decades, Shaylee's navigated the legal world in California and Colorado, tackling everything from real estate to corporate formation. But her expertise goes beyond the courtroom. She's a trusted fiduciary, which means she acts in the best interests of her clients, especially when it comes to protecting their assets and life management. And that's crucial, not just for our shared older adult clients, but for people of all ages. In fact, Shaylee owns and operates Lotus Fiduciary Group right here in the Denver metro area. They offer a range of services to help people make informed decisions about their futures. Whether you need a trusted trustee to manage your assets, a power of attorney to handle your affairs if you're unable, a conservator to protect someone you love, a personal representative to oversee an estate, or even just help with daily money management, Shaylee and her team at Lotus Fiduciary Group can help be there for you. We can't wait to share how Shaylee helps make space for what matters most by eliminating the stressors of money management. This is Making Space For, a Trusted Fiduciary. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us today.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Making Space For podcast. So today we're talking all things fiduciary services, which for some people that's a word that they're not familiar with. But before we jump into that, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're about, and how you got into this line of work?
Sure. So I have been practicing law since 1997. So doing all sorts of legal work, a lot of real estate, finance, corporate law. And then in 2020, this firm came for sale, the fiduciary firm. And so I looked into it, and little did I know it matched exactly what I had been looking to do my entire life. So my husband and I bought the firm, and we get to help all kinds of people, from young kids to older people, with their finances. And it's just been an amazing ride. So I transitioned my attorney skills into being a professional fiduciary. And we can describe that because even when the firm came for sale and I looked at what the services were, I had no idea. I had no idea as a 25-year attorney what a professional fiduciary was. You hear that buzzword all the time, fiduciary, fiduciary. It's a generic term. So when I looked it up, it made sense. But a lot of people don't know what this is or what we do, let alone that they need one at some point in their life. So what we do, we take over financial affairs for people. So what that means is we step into their shoes and we pay their bills, we file their tax returns, we make sure they have the right insurance in place, we oversee their investments. So we don't do the investing. That's what a lot of people associate with the fiduciary. But that's not what we do. We don't do the investing, but we oversee the investment advisor. So the way I like to describe it to people is we are in the center of a wheel, and all of our clients' service providers are all around. So the CPA, the financial advisor, the estate attorney, insurance agent, banker, those surround the client, and we in the middle, on behalf of our client, we make sure everyone else is doing their job for you.
Right.
And so we do this for people who either can't do it. So think people who are incapacitated, people with dementia, we have people who just are not good with finance. And we're seeing that more and more as young people grow up. They may have, they're on the spectrum and right. Finance is not a skill they have. So we step into the shoes of those people, but then we have other folks who hire us who don't want to do it. They are enjoying their retirement. They don't want to worry about bills or tax returns or anything, and so they hire us to do that. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do. We take over finances.
And we got connected with you because we become some of those service providers for some of your clients.
100%.
So, again, you don't have the boots on the ground, but you are controlling all the boots on the ground.
100%. We like to say we pay the bill.
Yes.
Send the moving bill to us and we get it paid.
And so then do you have, as a fiduciary, do you have like a responsibility to vet like all of your people? Like, how do you make decisions for people? Like, how do you make a decision on us? Like, obviously, if we have a good working relationship, but how do you make those decisions for people?
It's good old fashioned. We try you out, we try you on, and we have, one client in common, and we see how you are. And we do have a vetted list of these are service providers that are tried and true. We trust them. The value's great. And we put them on that list, and then we just go back to them over and over again. So, that's how we got connected.
Exactly.
I think we had a move in common. You were helping someone we knew.
Yep. And there's also, like we have had experiences with that, and we also know from working with professionals like you, we know what questions to ask.
Yes.
How do we send it? How do you like, the bill and the invoice to look? You approve our estimates, but sometimes you go to your clients and you talk to them. And then, so you kind of become that intermediate person between us and our client too, helping them make sound decisions when it comes to their things and how they're going to move and what that would look like for them.
Right. I know this sounds trite, but I pretend like all of our clients are my grandmother, my aunt, my little cousin. And I think, if I was their family member, what would I do?
Right.
Would I hire this company? Would I hire the company for me personally?
Yeah.
So that's, we do that for every single one of our clients.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's very involved what you do. So tell me, how do people find you? What's a typical client look like, and how does that kind of discovery process work?
Yeah. So, truth be told, we are 100% word of mouth and referral. And the business itself, Lotus, has been around since 2002. So the prior owner, she built a great reputation in town. So a lot of our business comes from estate planning attorneys. Families come in and say, I need to finalize my will or my trust. And we, when we take over financial affairs for people, we can either be a trustee of the trust, an executor of an estate. So after someone passes, we administer the estate. Or we can be a conservator, a la Britney Spears, but no negative connotations. And so a lot of those there's a legal document that creates our role. So the estate attorneys reach out to us. They have clients who need our help. Judges reach out to us. Adult protective services. I would say probably 40% of our business are trusts. And then, 80% of our business are older people. So people with dementia. We have a lot of folks who have no family.
Right.
So when you are living in your family house and you can't live on your own anymore and you need help, selling, giving away, packing up your stuff. What do you take with you to the facility? We have a ton of those. And again, a lot of our clients like that have no family. And their friends are gone because as you age, so are your contemporaries. So somehow somebody connects us with those people and we step in and help them. We do also do a lot of work with children. A lot of our kids who we represent inherited money. And when you're under 18, you can't take money. You are legally not able to have it. So we act as either trustee or conservator for littles. And we love doing it because, you're a 6-year-old and you just got a couple $1 million. We like to be part of the growth of that person. You know? Let's teach you what a budget is. And, we're not going to grow up just to be a trust fund person who doesn't contribute to the world kind of thing. So we love our jobs. We love helping people, much like you guys, right? Every single thing you do every day helps.
You step in where people can't, right? So a lot of times, especially if we're working with seniors, we do all kinds of different moves. But when you work with seniors, the physicality of a move is so heavy that they can't. And so you step in where they can't. Or an adult daughter may be able to help, but they live out of state. And so now you become kind of the adult daughter that's, local. And when you were talking, I was curious, you said that you have law background. Do you have to have a law background to be a fiduciary?
No, you do not. Especially in Colorado, there are 0 legal requirements to be a fiduciary. Wow. You could open up a firm tomorrow, but you would not last long. You have to have
probably not.
Fiduciary by definition means you're acting in someone else's best interest. So you don't need to be an attorney to do that, but you do have to be super ethical. And
so if people are picking one, like what makes a better fiduciary? I would assume that there's a background that you're looking for, specific skill sets you're looking for. Like you said, if I just opened it up, like my background is obviously not suited in that way, but what should people look for when finding a fiduciary?
So I think word of mouth is very, very important, but if you think about your own finances, if you had someone come in and take over your finances, it's super intimate, right?
For sure.
So personalities, you have to appreciate how that person does business, right? So it really takes interviewing. You have to have the basic finance skills, right? Paying bills, balancing books, overseeing investments, filing tax returns. But you also have to be a people person. So at Lotus, we have 9 staff members and we're split. We have a finance side and then we have, I call it the soft side, the people management, the boots on the ground who are there doing the packing, helping with the packing and doing all that stuff. So it's essentially interviewing and making sure that the firm you do hire has a team that can handle all of your stuff. Like in our case, we have a real estate and personal property specialist. We call her Treasure Hunter.
Yep, I met her.
She's the best.
She's given me some great tips of like resources that she's used. And so she was a great asset when I met her.
She's wonderful. And you don't know it until you need to get rid of all of your jewelry that you've collected over the years. What do I do with this? Can I sell it? Which, by the way, free tip to everyone, coins and baseball cards are worthless.
Thank you for saying
that. Don't save them. Don't pay to store them.
No more Beanie Babies either.
No
more Hummels. No more Yadros. Unfortunately, they just aren't worth much.
And it breaks people's heart.
It does.
Have you come up against this?
All the time. And it's hard to be the bearer of bad news. We always say Big and Brown is also not in. Well, Big and Brown was in for so many years. So like the big entertainment centers and the big hutches and like people just aren't buying that. They're doing contemporary, streamlined, all that kind of stuff. And
minimalist.
Minimalist. Waterford used to be the thing, and now nobody. I mean, most generations now are not registering for China. They're registering for like that first set at Crate and Barrel now. They don't want the old China. No. I mean, it's just hard to be the bearer of bad news, but there's also ways that you can give back and donate, and there's a million ways to help people in that way.
Do you guys have a policy of that? You try to repurpose first?
We do, and so we have lots of different partners with. So if they really want to sell things, we give them all the options of how to sell, and we tell them all the facts about it, and then people get to kind of make that decision for themselves.
Yeah.
We talk about consignment. People are like, oh, well, I should maybe consign it. Well, we tell them all, all the good, the bad, and the ugly of consignment. Which for some people it's an amazing service, but for some it's not, depending on what you're doing. And an estate sale, people always think, I'm going to have an estate sale, but I think a non-educated percentage, we say about like 10 to 15% of our clientele are eligible and fit the criteria for an estate sale.
Right.
So once you break down all the rules for estate sales and things like that, they're like, oh, I realize I'm not a candidate.
Yeah.
So then you have to have, the other things. And so at the end of the day, we always tell people, give stuff away for free. I know that sounds silly, but you're going to save money in the long run because you're not going to have to pay someone to come pick it up and take it and do whatever or donate it or discard it.
Yeah.
And then we work with a bunch of eco-friendly junk haulers that will, like, at the end of the day, take things and then they figure out whether it needs to be recycled, repurposed, and things like that. So we try very, very hard to repurpose what we can.
Right.
But, like people who have a collection of books, what do you do with that? Well, we got a person for that. We have people that they'll pick up to 10 boxes of books for free.
Okay.
And, you're not going to make any money on your books, but at least you're not going to pay to get rid of them.
Right,
so we just try to help people understand that and understand what their choices are.
Yeah.
I have a family right now I'm working with. They were really, really, just they have to sell the things. And I'm like, okay. I said, to be honest with you, the biggest bang for your buck is Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Yep. I know, that's a chore.
Yeah.
And for some of our seniors, they don't know how to manage that.
Right.
So then she got the granddaughter involved. Granddaughter posted it all, and they just emailed me yesterday that they sold all but 3 items.
Wow.
And I'm like, great.
Good for
Even
them.
if you made $50, it's better than having to pay someone to come pick it up. And then, it sits on the consignment floor, and then you don't make it money on it anyways. And so, you know the story.
Or it gets stored and you never see it again.
And it's in a very expensive storage unit to keep a bunch of stuff, and you're going to pay me to move it. I'll tell you all the things. At the end of the day, it's your choice.
Right.
And I will do and I will honor your choices.
Yeah.
But, that's a very expensive, whatever, $300 a month times 12 months times how many years you're going to leave it in there. Is it worth that?
Right. How do you guys find your clients?
If we're working in the senior space, which, we share a lot of those clients, I would say a lot of it's word of mouth, number one.
Yep.
Professionals like yourself, who's I need the help. Yeah. Or we also, I would say, senior living communities. Okay. So senior living communities are a big one, simply because they already know the need. The need exists because they're moving in. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith are moving in. Can you help them? They 40 years in this home. They really need help downsizing. So we get a lot of people from that. But traditional residential as well, we usually get that. Again, it's word of mouth. They tend to be our adult children of our clients sometimes because they've seen how it works. And they're like, yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Yeah. So we have a lot of that. But then, like I said, we just try to build a community of people that need that, again, that extra TLC, that, stepping in where others cannot, maybe physically, emotionally, because I'm not emotionally attached to your mom's things. Right. And so for you to go in and say, Mom, let's get rid of all this junk is hurtful. For me, it's not hurtful. Right. And so I'm able to look at it in a more objective way. And we can look up the price, of what things have sold for and things like that as they want to. And we know what's hot in the market and what's not. And, that sort of stuff. And so we can help families kind of navigate that and make better decisions for themselves. Because at the end of the day, we want them to be happy where they are. So taking too much, living in their stuff is just not a good start in a new place. And so we want to try to make it as homey as we can, but also eliminate all the junk that you're not to. And most of the time when you downsize, that's the biggest downsize, but it's not the last. Oh. So if you think about it, we move folks into independent living, and then they're going to call us to move us into assisted living, and then potentially memory care or skilled nursing. Yeah. And so through the continuum, you're going to continue to downsize. So we always say, do the big bulk now. Yes. Do the work now. You're spending the money and the time and you have the energy. Let's do it now. Yeah. And for those who can't, we get that too. But, if we can get them to downsize that first time, that's kind of where we want to.
It's a big, and
where we want to be.
Do you find with this aging population, you don't know that you need this until you need it? Yes. How do we spread the word?
I know.
Again, don't pay to move your XYZ collection.
Well, and so I guess that kind of parlays into the next question that I have for you is, making a plan. We always tell people when you have time, you have options. When you don't have time, it becomes an emergency, which I know you do. You step in an emergency quite frequently, I'm sure. Yep. But, the people who are coming to you kind of, getting their affairs in order. Yes. So the other question I have is, how do people pay for your services? What does that look like? Or is it built into their, how does that look as far as payment goes?
So traditionally, when you appoint a trustee or a personal representative executor, it's usually a percentage of your assets. We do not like that model. We like the hourly. So we are by the hour. If we don't do anything for you, you don't pay for us. And I am glad you brought this up because as people plan for the future, They want to put mechanisms in place for later on when they
need it.
When they need it. Right now, they're fine. So name us, name Lotus, and hopefully you don't need us for 20 or 30 years. But when you don't have capacity, you have dementia, I want to get to know you now. So later on, it's like, what would Paige do in this? Would Paige keep this? Would she donate it? Would she sell it? So we like to get to know people. When somebody names us in their estate plan, in their will or their trust, we call them a pre-need. They don't have a need for us yet. It's pre the need. So we sign up people like that, and we charge a little onboarding fee because there's a lot of footwork.
Almost
that
like
needs
a
to be
kind of
done.
retainer. Or no, I guess you're right. Onboarding.
It's an onboarding fee. We collect anything you have with a number. We collect it. We want to know all your insurance policies, all your investment accounts, all your bank accounts.
Which I'm sure in that process, you're helping them realize how complicated it is. Because that's the other thing is I think people are like, oh, it's no big deal. But I even think about my own personal stuff. I mean, my husband's had several jobs. And so at each one of those, he had a 401k. And if you didn't roll them into one, now you got like 4 401ks.
To keep track of.
All of that stuff. It's like how, and that's the biggest thing is when you start, it's like for us, when we pull stuff out of a closet, you're like, oh my gosh, how much is in this closet? It's the same situation. Now they're realizing, I have all these accounts. Oh, well, I also have this. And I guess I have this. I was just talking to a family who the dad had a safety deposit box. They still to this day, he's been gone. Oh, it's actually one of our employees. She said he's been gone, I don't know, I can't even remember now, like let's say 15 years. They still don't know where the key is.
Are you kidding?
So there's a safety deposit box somewhere.
They don't even know where it is.
They don't even know where it is.
Oh,
they don't know where it lives, like what bank it lives in.
That's horrible.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like those are the things that as you're sitting down, you're making a plan. We were just, my last guest was a placement professional. So somebody who helps people find the appropriate senior living community. Right. And that's what she said is like, you just have your plan in place. It doesn't mean you're spending the money. It doesn't mean that you're going to, the senior living community today. Yeah. But maybe in 15 years, now you know where you're going. Yeah. Now you know who's going to manage your finances. Yeah. Now you know who's going to move you. So when you're ready, you just execute. Plug and play.
Well, more importantly, you get to choose. You get to pick. Yeah. You worked your whole entire life and you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Wouldn't it be horrible if you didn't plan and either the court or some other random person is making decisions about your estate that you wouldn't have made? So,
or if you don't have the right things in place, like if you need a trust, now things are going into probate and that delays, money that may need to be freed up to do whatever to help, get rid of the property or help whatever, the stuff to move them to whatever it takes. And now it's in probate and it's sitting there and it's, you don't have access to it. So that was the other thing that, was kind of eye-opening for me is the things that you don't know you need in place.
Yes.
So if you get them in place, then you're ready to go.
Yes. You touched on something big. Back to when we onboard someone, we give them a checklist down to what do we do with your pet? Who do we call?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Nobody thinks, pet owners
I don't think about that.
Pet owners usually think about that. Who do we call? Who takes the pet and do they get money? A lot of people leave a fund for the animal. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know, and this is just a straight up education thing, when you pass and you don't have a will or a trust or anything, the banks will freeze your account.
Yes.
Until someone's appointed as administrator to do it. Well, the funeral homes want payment. You cannot have a ceremony. You cannot have a burial without payment. Correct. It is it's a condition. Nobody knows that. If they knew their body was, in a back room, sitting there for 2 weeks or a month, waiting for papers from the court, they would make a plan. They would make arrangements. And again, it's just people don't know. So that's the one thing I do tell people, either prepay all your stuff so you're not held in limbo. And I've even brought this up with my own mom. Mom, you need to plan your funeral. Why would I do? That's horrible. Yeah. Mom, just please for me, I promise. Now I know I can, if I need to pay for hers, right? But again, a lot of people don't have family, don't have people who can step up. And it's sad. It's tragic.
Well, and we say this too in this space is we're all aging, no matter where you are on the continuum. Even a 5-year-old is aging. Yeah. We are all doing it. But we're so afraid to talk about the things that when we can't do for ourselves. Yeah. And the greatest gift you can give your kids. My grandparents, I remember, they moved into senior living way before they needed to. And it was the greatest gift they gave because then my grandpa got sick with Parkinson's disease and just declined. And then when he passed, my grandma had a place to be. Yes. She had friends. Yes. She had connection. And so it was their choice. They went on their own.
Yep.
They, all of those things. And I just feel like what a gift they gave us as a family that we didn't have to go through this. And, would you say that a lot of your clientele are complicated as far as finances, or would you say it's the whole spectrum from simple and easy all the way to complex?
Yes. And I like to describe it. We're on a spectrum, right? We can help you pay your bills. We had one gentleman in his mid-90s. He wanted to sign the checks. So we would go over to his house once a month. And his concern was he missed some payments. He missed the real estate tax bill. So he wanted us there looking over his shoulder, making sure that he was paying his bills. But he wanted to sign the checks. Well, we did catch. He, instead of a check for $900, he wrote it for $9,000. We caught it. We ripped it up. So we have that level where we're just kind of support and oversight, all the way to the other end where I'm the manager of the LLC that they own. We property manage their house where they live. We oversee the care managers and caregivers that are with him 24 hours a day. So we can do anything in between that, soup to nuts. And that, you just touched on another thing. You write the story and the directions, we follow them. And that we pride ourselves on that. It's like they say, clients will say, well, what do you do in this case? I say, well, what do you want? What do you want done? Write it down. We will follow directions and protect your assets and execute your wishes. So
if somebody is incapacitated, can't make those decisions for themselves, maybe they didn't tell you back in the day when they could have, who tells you now?
So if they have nobody and they have no powers of attorney in place, let's say a financial or medical, we go to the court and the court appoints, we get appointed as conservator for the finance side, but the court will also appoint a guardian for the medical side. And then we just make decisions for them based on that. Because if you can't make a decision, somebody has to. Yeah, we have that right now. We are conservator for a gal. And so we pay all of her bills. She's not allowed to have money for various reasons. We order her groceries, we pay her bills, all of that. She's always been with it, but she's starting to decline. And the doctors are calling us, hey, how much oxygen should we give? We legally, we can't do a thing. We are so torn. And it's a cautionary tale to people. Like, you need to put these things in place, because you touched on it too. We know how the story goes.
Oh, we know how it ends too. Yeah.
So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Let's get everything in place.
Right.
While you can.
And I came from senior living. Sierra and I both came from senior living. So we've seen that side of it as well. Watched people age that were not related to us, and watched all the different stories and all the different ways that it can be done.
Yeah.
And I remember, a lady that we worked with, and she was found driving around on, oh my gosh, I think she actually got on to DIA somehow, like in the fields driving about.
Oh my gosh.
Obviously, the police found her. She was immediately hospitalized. They diagnosed her with dementia. She's no longer allowed to go home. So she came to our senior living community. But she had no one, no family, no friends, no nothing. The neighbors picked out her clothing and things and brought them over. We somehow got a hold of the neighbors that didn't even know her.
Yeah.
And so then she has a court appointed one. Yeah. And then, as you know, it's not the same as a private company. It's not the same level of TLC. It's not the same level, I'm sure. Like you hire your people. They are a representation of you and your company and your brand. It's not the same thing when the court reported. No. And the turnover. I mean, I'm assuming you have your people for a long time.
Yes.
We're all in that kind of service business for a reason.
Yes.
That's kind of what we're called to do.
Yes.
But I've seen all kinds of things like that, and how you step in and make decisions for people is. It's sad to think that you would be alone, but it's amazing to know that there's people who are trained professionals to take that responsibility on.
Yeah. Not only are we trained, we see the situations every day. We know what the next thing that's going to happen is, much like you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can predict, we see this every day. And so my new mission in life is just to educate people on that. They don't have to use our service, but you got to make some kind of plan. Yeah. Please.
Make some kind of plan, talk to somebody, at least have the dialogue. I think that's the biggest thing, is having a dialogue within your family, especially if you have one, to have that open dialogue, so that if, for example, I'm assuming you probably deal with very touchy family dynamics.
Oh my gosh. We could write a book.
I mean, where like the adult daughter is probably not thrilled that you are the fiduciary and that you're making decisions and she's not. But there's usually a reason for that. Yeah. If it's financial, if it's emotional, if it's whatever the situation. I'm sure you have seen it all.
We've seen it all. We are secretly writing our anonymous book along the way. But
the coffee table book we all want to read.
Yeah. We do specialize in this, and attorneys send us a ton of work. We specialize in blended families.
Oh.
So mom has her kids and money, dad has his kids and money. Who do you put in charge? Oh, we'll do one from each. Well, what if they don't agree? Then you're at a stalemate. So we specialize in that. We are the neutral third party who can step in and help a blended family.
Interesting.
We do that a lot.
I mean, because there are just so many different nuances in that situation, or they don't have the capacity to do it, or they don't want to. I mean, that's the other thing too. Is I'm sure you deal with like adult children who are like, listen, I have my own life. Like, I'm not going to manage your house and your bills and your stuff.
Right.
And that's how they have it set up.
Right.
So
another demographic that we see coming up nowadays are single LGBTQ who don't marry.
Yeah.
Who do you name? Who's legal? Who can legally make decisions for you financially or medically? You need to set it up. And so there's a massive, massive need there. There's a massive need we see coming up with 20 and 30 somethings that, again, on the spectrum, drug addicted. So mom and dad have this massive estate and they have one heir, and that person is either drug addicted or on the spectrum, and they panic. What do we do? What do we do? So we help a ton of families like that.
Wow.
We provide that solution where your child's not going to be on the street. We will get their bills paid. So don't worry about the finance side. You may have to worry about their well-being and their health and their personal stuff, but don't worry about the finance side. We got that.
Yeah.
They're going to have a place to live and their bills will get paid. Taxes will get filed. They will have insurance.
So an ideal client for you, when are they reaching out to you? When are they finding you? When are they having that initial interview? How does that look to be like the ideal client?
Yeah, on the average, I would say we get couples. They don't necessarily have to be married, but a couple, right? And they come in usually in their 50s or 60s, right when they're facing like, oh shoot, I'm on the back nine of the course, right? They'll come in then. And how it usually comes up is their estate attorney. They're drafting their will or their trust. And the estate attorney's part of their process is, okay, who are we going to name? And this is another misconception that I want to get out to the world, because a lot of people, all of us probably are guilty of it. We name our friends or our family who are our age. Well, if we can't do it, they're aging right along with us. They probably can't do it either. So put a backup, and I don't want a third party professional. That's not personal enough or whatever. It's fine. You don't have to use it. You put us in as a backup in case no one's left. Wouldn't you rather a third party company doing it versus the court or a public administrator, someone who's just.
But it sounds like it's very, in your firm specifically, it sounds like it's very hands-on. It's very, I mean, because when I went in there, we were sharing stories about, mutual clients and things. And I mean, you guys know, like we do, down to their pet's name. I mean, if you're buying groceries for somebody once a week, you are very intimate in their story. So, I mean, that's the other difference, is that you have the ability to grow with them and the longevity to grow with them versus.
And we prefer that.
Yes, absolutely. I would prefer that.
Yeah. One great example I like to give is I want to get to know Paige, because if I need to make a decision for her, I want to make the decision she would have made. Right. So we had a couple come in and they wanted to name us as their trustee, and again in their pre-planning docs. And as they left, the female said to me, so I want the trust to send my 20 family members every year on a cruise on the trust dime. Got that? And I said, yes. Could we put that in writing somewhere? Yes, I have the authority to do that, but it would look better if you wrote in there, down, send everyone on the trust dime, the 20 people every year. Well, no kidding. 2 weeks later, same scenario, same aged couple came in. When I asked them, I said, travel, what do you think about travel being paid for by the trust? Absolutely not, under no circumstances. So that's a huge thing. Now, under both cases, I could make the decision whether to send people on a cruise, right? Yeah. But they had diametrically opposed opinions on that. So I would want to get to know. That's one of our questions now. Do you want the trust to pay for travel? because we've teased that out in getting to know people, and you don't think about that
No.
until, you know.
Well, I was just thinking, like, so, you know, so then you pass away and then it goes to the next generation. So if you stay engaged,
Yes.
then you help the next generation
Yes.
manage all the things that they
Yes.
didn't really know anything about.
Right.
They didn't know about the trust. They didn't know
Yeah.
all the rules and regulations that
Yeah.
mom and dad set.
Yep.
And so now you're going to help them, especially like as if siblings don't agree.
Yeah.
Sibling spouses don't agree.
Yeah, no.
All of those things now.
Yeah.
So like we want to go on a cruise, but they're not going to go on a cruise together.
Yeah. We call that, what you just described, we call that job security.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I can see that. And that's why I like too, like we move our clients, and then like the adult children are like, well, do you just do like regular residential?
Yeah.
We're like, yes, we do.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we'll help you like keep working while we move you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
It is job security.
It is.
And I mean, for us too, we move people along. We help them age. It's the first downsize, and then it's the next one. And then the family calls us when they've passed away. Hey, can you help me clean out mom's, you know, apartment over at such and such community? Absolutely.
Because
So.
then you're a trusted partner of theirs.
Yes.
And that's what we
And
like.
we know their stuff. Like
You-
to your point, like I know their stuff. Like I can pull up that, you know, that memory
Yeah.
while we have, you know, digital records of everyone's stuff. It's also that digital memory of like just remembering, you know, I remember them, or like, I remember the piano,
Yeah.
and just whatever it is.
Yeah.
When the daughter calls, you know, like
Yeah.
you've been in that circle. And so let me take that off your plate. So you can go grieve mom. You can go make a, you know, you do you
Yeah.
in that space. That's already difficult enough.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
It's
we kind of
stressful.
become part of the solution before they even know that they needed that
Right,
problem solved.
right.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess this podcast is called the Making Space for Podcast. And when we came up with this name, you know, it was because we feel like by empowering people with knowledge, it's allowing them to make space for good decision making. It's getting them space to do the things that they enjoy or to feel prepared and set up. So how does using a fiduciary, and specifically maybe your firm, how does that help free up space or make space for people in their life?
We regularly, this happens. So someone will come in and say, oh, my estate attorney said I need to come talk to you. They come in to us. We ask them all the questions. You know, who are you? Who gets the pet? You know, do we pay for travel? That kind of thing. We give them a checklist. At the very least, even if, and when you hire us, you don't have to keep us. You can come back in 5 or 10 years and say, you know, plans have changed. We're doing this. No problem. But at the very least, when you come in and meet with us and hire us or name us, we're going to help you get your finances organized. We give you a checklist. You will, similar to, you know, an inventory of your personal property, right? We're going to inventory your finances. You're going to remember that you have some random insurance policy somewhere that, you know, you bought when you were in your 20s. Oh, I forgot about that. We will help you get all of that on one page so that you know where everything is, how it's titled, and where it goes, right? We help you identify that. Then you don't have to worry about it ever again. You know that you have taken care of that. It's identified. You have someone to take care of it later, whether it's us or someone else. You will leave our office after meeting with us and onboarding with us, knowing that you have done everything in your power to have your finances in line, ready to go.
Which in itself is probably worth whatever the onboarding
Yeah.
number is. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's the right number, because there's just so much of that you don't know that you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like if there's another person that we were talking about digital, like everything is so digital now. Like what do you do with all that digital information? Do you manage digital information?
So we do have a great solution for
Okay.
that. We are actually in talks to partner with a firm. When I saw their website, they call it the Family Operating System, and it is a place where you literally just drag your folder over.
It's amazing to think about how many things, like from a social media thing to what are the logins for this?
Yes.
What subscriptions do
Yes.
you have? I mean,
Yes.
that dog food's going to be keep on
Yep.
coming,
Yep.
because you just, no one's going to cancel it. Nobody knows where it is.
Well,
and how
we
to
do,
access it.
we
That's
do,
great.
and we know how to get it.
Good.
We have secret tricks to find out about those and how to, So.
Yeah, but people who are not prepared, who don't have somebody stepping in,
Yeah.
that dog food's going to just keep coming to the front porch.
Sadly, that's how we identified one of our clients had passed away, because his dog food deliveries were piling up on the front porch, and so someone called for a welfare check. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but again, there was somebody to call.
Yes.
Which is the best news, that there's somebody to call.
Yes, he had named us. Yep, and he was a
Yeah.
single guy, and
Yeah. Well, I think what you guys do is amazing. You guys are a huge asset to us, and it's always helpful because it always feels like a team effort.
100%.
And we're all doing the best for our clients.
Yes.
And it feels, while people I think sometimes are scared to spend money or scared to have a professional in their very personal lives.
Yes.
They're creating a team to set them up for success. And so if you have the bandwidth or the time or the energy, do it now.
Yes.
With
While
time
you
have
can.
options while you can.
Yes.
Name the people, interview the people, make the right choices for you. But yeah, we just like working with you guys.
Yay, so do we, likewise. And you come to mind every time we have that need for assistance with the moves.
Yes, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
And educating us all on that, because I do
Yes.
think that's a scary word to some people and they don't know what it is.
Yep.
And how that's an asset and where you start and where other people end.
Yes.
I think that's the other thing too, is like you only get so far with an estate attorney. You
Yep.
only get so far with a CPA.
Yep.
So once you get to that point, how do you continue that journey?
Right.
And you are kind of that continuation of,
Yes.
of those services when they stop.
100%. And the last thing I want to leave everyone with is just make a plan. Get a plan.
Totally.
Your kin or your friends will thank you.
Yes. Yes, very much so. That wraps up another inspiring episode of the Making Space for podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and to you, our cherished listeners. Your journey to intentional living begins with each small step, and we're honored to be a part of it. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please consider liking, subscribing, and rating our podcast on your favorite platform. Before we part ways, a friendly reminder, if you're embarking on a move or seeking expert guidance in downsizing, remember A Move Handled with Care in Denver. With over 15 years of experience in senior and specialty move management, we're here to transform your transition into a seamless, stress-free experience. Visit amovehandledwithcare.com for more information, and let's continue making space for the life you've always wanted. Until next time, stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep making space for what matters most.